Hello, everyone. Welcome to That Local Life podcast. I'm your host, Sydney. This is Tyler.
Heyo. We have a very, very special guest here today, an Adrian native, now lives in Boise. He specializes in wine. We're going to call him the wine master today on our podcast. Tim Martin himself. Tim, happy to have you on.
Hey, thank you very much. Excited to be here and share a few things with you.
Heck yeah.
Absolutely. So, first question of the day. You grew up in Adrian, right? Is that always a thing? Do you guys always live here?
Absolutely. Born and raised, actually raised in Adrian.
Okay.
I'll classify that right.
Okay.
I have to say I was born in Boise, born in St. Luke's.
You
one
were
of the
born in
few
Boise?
that were truly
Okay.
living in Idaho and actually born in Idaho.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Nice.
no, grew up my whole life in Adrian.
Okay.
And then at about 17, left Adrian, went to school. Went to Boise, went to work at Micron. 36 years later, still going.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
that's where you work currently, is at Micron?
Exactly. Like typically than anybody, like anybody that farms kind of small, you've got to have a day job.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
got to pay the bills.
Yeah.
So.
Sure. Well, that is amazing. Good to know that you're a native, but still come back here and bring your roots back to us. So what got you into wine?
That's actually a really good question. It's one of those that it's always been intriguing, right? And I always enjoyed growing things, right? So it all kind of started out as really just a fun project to clean up the property that we grew up on and do something fun as a family,
Yeah.
right? And then the next thing you know, it kind of exploded, and now we've got 20 acres of grapes and harvest
That's
about 100 ton of
awesome.
grapes a year that go to 3 different wineries.
Okay.
Majority of our grapes go to Cinder Wines
Okay.
in Boise, and
Okay.
then some go to Fugitians. And a little bit to Talaya this year. So
Is that a new one? Is that a new
that's
one
a
to you
new
this
one
year?
this year. Yeah, we expanded and planted over the last 3 years an additional 7 acres. So
Dang.
Talaya is picking up some of that. And
that's cool.
and
Yeah, that's
so-
awesome.
What's the future look like for your grape business, wine business here?
Well, it's going to be interesting to watch and see where we go. It's like any small business, we're really looking to see where does the future go, where are we growing. Currently, my youngest daughter, Sophie, is in Walla Walla Community College,
Okay.
taking their EV program. She wants to start her own label at some point in time, but she also would like to travel the world and learn what others
That's
do.
awesome.
So at some point in time, her hopes, dreams, desires, right along with the rest of us, is to have a small winery.
That is cool.
Up on the, we have, about 125 acres there on
Okay.
the upper slope towards the A Hill.
Okay.
Originally, there was Karen and Joe Wiggins'
Yeah,
place,
okay.
right? So,
Yeah.
so we started to actually, that's where we expanded the additional 7 acres this last few years. So.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
So,
I learned the other day, we went on a wine tour to Houston, and they said that the better the slope, the better the grapes turn out, or something along those
Exactly.
lines.
And yeah,
So,
they were saying how
Exactly.
big of a difference it makes.
with the
Just like the
taste,
different
with the slope, with the
environments,
temperatures, I mean,
everything like that.
it's very eye-opening to experience. So Tim has brought us, for our audio listeners here, he has brought us some wine. So Tim, what are we drinking today?
So one of the things, and we'll talk a little bit about wine,
Yes,
wine regions,
please.
where things grow and that side of things, right?
want
So
it all.
if we think about where we're at here, just below the 45th parallel, right? It's very close, very similar to what you would see in Spain, right? So
Okay.
one of the things we jumped into early on is Spanish wines, right? So one of the things we have here is a couple of Spanish wines. The white wine you have right now is a Verdejo. So it is a white Spanish wine.
It
It's,
is really good.
it's very a light citrusy,
Yeah.
and it's fairly new to this area. There's probably only a couple vineyards within the valley that actually
Okay.
grow Verdejo.
Really?
And it's been very popular for Cinder's been taking all of our Verdejo and making it's been very popular for them and
It's
selling
super
that quickly.
easy to drink.
It's almost
Yeah.
too easy to drink. Exactly. So,
It's like
Dangerous.
yeah, so that's the white wine we have. We did bring a couple of red wines, and again, just interest in story and that side of things, right? So the bottle here on that side,
The right side, yeah.
there you go, is a bottle of Tempranillo. So Verdejo, Tempranillo are grown really side by side in the Rioja region of Spain.
Okay.
So it's the white red version of really what does well in that region. The interesting part about this Tempranillo we have, it is Tempranillo from Emerald Slope. So we grew the grapes. I think that is 2018,
I believe, on the bottle.
Exactly, and it is a vineyard specific bottling, so it is Emerald Slope only grapes, as with the Verdejo. It is a Fugitian made
Okay.
wine,
I do
so
like Fugitian.
Martin Fugitian, also
Okay. Yeah.
Grew up just south of Adrian. Went to school this whole time
Yeah.
in Adrian, right? So
I did not
that's a
know
little
that.
bit of the connection here.
Wow. Okay. That is neat.
And then the Indian Creek Rhine, which is a Star Garnet, majority Cabernet.
Okay.
We have nothing to do with the grapes.
You just had something to do with the label.
Mike McClure and his wife, who own. Got you thinking, don't
It does.
Mike and Tammy, Tammy's dad started Indian Creek Winery out
Okay.
south of Cuna in the early 70s, right? And Tammy and Mike have since taken over the winery, right? So Mike actually went to school in Adrian for a period of his time. Both
Yeah,
his parents
that
grew up
name
out
sounds
here.
super
Right,
familiar.
exactly. So that's what I thought I would share, right? It's
Man,
one of those
yeah.
things. When you think about the wine world, it's very large, but you
Yeah.
can condense it down and go, you know what? There's 3 people in the Treasure Valley that actually, from this little town,
Yeah.
are involved in the wine industry in a big
That
way,
is-
right? Within
that
the
is
Treasure
crazy.
Valley, right? So
That's cool.
I thought it'd be fun to kind of bring a couple 3 wines and share
Yeah,
some of
that's
theirs, some
awesome.
of ours, and
That is
and kinda-
amazing. Well, thank you for bringing these on for us. So, on these names on these bottles, like the Tempranillo and the Verdejo, are those names come from the region that the grapes are originally grown in? Is that the name of the town? What does those
That's
names
actually
mean?
So they are Spanish.
Okay.
It's not so much the name of the town or the region. It is the name of the varietal of the grape.
Okay.
Actually, if you hand me the Wine Folly book, and there's a reason why I brought this, right? A lot of times people think of wine as being very pretentious, and the next thing you
Yeah.
know, they're a little scared of it. They're a
Very
little like, wait a
snobby-like.
minute. Exactly.
Yes.
There's so much to think about, right? So one of the things is Wine Folly, they actually have a great podcast. They have a great social
to know.
media presence, right? And they do a great job. But they also put out a book that really goes through every variety and very simplifies, talks it, and takes it down, right? So I was just going to find within
Yeah. In the Spain
the
region.
Spain region, right?
For our audio
that's
listeners,
cool.
Tim brought us a book called Wine Folly, and Wine Folly looks like basically a book that dives into wine, how it's made, where it comes from, and kind of simplifies it for the beginner wine drinker, right?
Exactly. And it's very
Yeah.
nice, and it's very easy to go through, and it's very friendly, right? And you look at it, it gives you an outline of all the different varieties that are grown within that region. It gives you the
wow.
regions that are there. And then it gives you a map of it as well, and then it walks
That is
through each
neat.
of the varieties or each of the
Okay.
regions and tells you what's grown in each of the regions.
That is cool.
It's
Yeah,
actually it's
that's
again it's a
insane.
great book. No pitch for Amazon or nothing of that
Sure.
sort.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Right now it's like $13 on Amazon,
Oh,
so it's
geez.
Okay.
really
We'll
cheap
put the
to
link
pick
in our
up.
bio here.
Exactly. I was just gonna see.
Neat. That is very cool. That is really cool. So, but what got you into wine? Like, did you just grow up drinking it? You're like, man, this is kind of good. Maybe I'll grow some grapes. Like, how did that conversation start?
That's always a good question, right? Because it's one of those. It's like, now wait a minute. It's been 20 years,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Since we planted our first vines was 2002, right? So
Okay.
you kind of go scratch back and go, why we're doing it? Really, we're looking for something, living in Boise,
Uh-huh.
the kids in Boise, looking for something that we could do not only as a family but to get everyone out,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
It's one of those growing up out here.
Mm-hmm.
You know how to drive a tractor. You know how to do. Pretty much pick up
Stick
anything.
shift by 8 years
Exactly.
old.
Yeah.
you know, the whole nine. Yeah.
Exactly. As I told my daughters, right? I said, you guys need to learn 3 things before you leave the house. You need to learn how to back up a trailer. You need how to drive a stick shift. You need to learn how to fly fish, right?
Yeah.
If you know how to do those three things, you'll be fine in the world anyway, right?
That's awesome.
So yeah, it was really a matter about getting everybody out and doing something, and as well kind of cleaning up the place. And it always sounded interesting, which
Yeah.
started out with a small 4-acre block of Tempranillo. Seems like fairly easy to take care of.
Sure.
Way underestimated what actually
What
was
goes into
involved in
it,
it.
yeah.
Exactly. You're like, wait a minute, there is a lot here.
not just
you
growing
plant
grapes.
you plant 2,300 vines, and you're like, okay, now we have to prune all 23 of those.
How do we
have to-
do that?
Exactly. So
man.
it was a very steep learning curve.
Yeah.
To say the least. And then we're to the point now, actually, we're probably growing some of the upper end quality grapes within the Snake River AVA, right? So
Yeah. It definitely tastes like it. That is for sure. So
That's some good stuff.
that's cool. I mean, I've always been intrigued by stuff like that. Did you ever think it would be here where it's at today at all?
No, I didn't. It was one of those. It was just kind of like, okay, let's just bounce along, see where it's at,
Yeah.
see where it's going to go, right? And again, we had opportunity to pick up a little more property, and it's just like, okay, well, let's grow it a little more. Let's grow a little more. We have one person that works for us full time throughout the year,
Cool.
and then we're not really sure where it's going to go, but it'll be fun to watch, right?
Yeah.
And
Do you guys
And
maybe have any more plans to get more property and put more?
I think we're pretty good where we're at
Okay.
on the property
Yeah.
size of things. Now it's just a matter of, okay, let's start throwing in more
Yeah.
infrastructure. Let's get in more vines. You know, it's a fairly large investment in the infrastructure side of things
Yeah.
from a return on investment,
Yeah.
I
right?
mean,
So
from 100 tons of grapes, I mean, that's a lot of grapes already.
Yeah.
And we were kind of going over math of how much that actually makes in terms of wine, and it's not as much as you might think coming from 100 tons of grapes.
yeah,
but-
so it's 50 cases of wine per ton is
Okay.
the best way to look at it, right? And you can
Alright.
calculate it off of that. And then, I mean, there's typically a case or two more here or there, a few more
Yeah.
bottles here or
Sure.
there, depend on how much the wine angels get out of the barrels themselves
Yeah.
as things age,
Uh-huh.
right? But yeah, it's best back of hand calculation.
Uh-huh.
You can get about 50 tons,
So
50
out of
cases
all
per
the
ton.
wines that you guys make, what's the longest that your like grapes sit, or that the
ferment.
yeah,
how
that they
long do
ferment.
Yeah.
Yeah, so not as a winemaker myself,
Okay.
but definitely understand the process well, right? So the primary fermentation, depend on, and we'll just kind of ease it across the red, white side of things. Typically, a couple of weeks in a primary fermentation.
Okay.
But before it goes in the bottle, so if the white grapes, if they're harvested fall, they'll go through all the winemaking spring, late spring. You could actually release that white wine. You're looking 2 years on a red wine because it is gonna go through its primary,
Yeah.
and then it's gonna go aging in an oak barrel for an extended period of
Yeah.
time, right? So.
Neat.
When you think about inventory, when you think about investment, when you think about those things as a small business, right, you start really building
Yeah.
costs
And you really
fairly
Yeah.
significally,
start
right?
looking into the
Exactly,
future because you got to
exactly.
hold that stuff. You got to
Yes,
tend it all the
exactly.
time. And we were at Houston Vineyards, a few days ago, and they were talking us through all of their whole infrastructure and how they keep the wine, and they had to have somebody come in and tend it pretty much
Yep.
24 hours a day.
I know. I was telling Tyler, I was like,
Stirring.
"There's a lot of patience that goes into this.
Yes,
you
absolutely.
just like throw it in a bottle, and you're like, all right, well, we'll see you in 18 months."
Yes, exactly. And there's a lot of science that goes into it as well,
Yeah.
right? When you talk about fermentations and the things that you're doing there's a huge amount of science that goes into it up front, and then there's a lot of patience that goes into it,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, but in the end,
So how did these partnerships come along with these wineries? Did you just walk in one day and be like, "Hey, I grow some bomb ass grapes. Do you guys want some?"
well,
how does that work?
Yeah, with Fugitians, it's been one of those that it's I've known Martin for all the whole time, right?
Yeah.
And he's always
Yeah.
kind of approached me and said, "Hey, you know what? I want grapes. I rode by that place, looking up there, and on the school bus going
Yeah.
home every
I see
day,
what
right?"
you
So he's
got,
like,
yeah.
so it's for us, it's more of just a brotherhood type thing where
Yeah.
we both grew up around here, right? And that, and then the cinder side of things, it was an evolution, right? It was one of those where we had a conversation, and it's kind of evolved to where. Again, it's a great partnership with Cinder.
Yeah.
It's worked well for both of us, and yeah, I've never sold grapes to Mike.
Okay. Okay.
On Indian Creek side of things, again, brought that more just for the fun of it.
Yeah,
Again,
yeah,
as,
for
Just
sure.
to have some nice
yeah.
sipping wine.
Yeah, every
It's a
time,
cool
I think
bottle.
every time he sees me, he's like, "Are you gonna sell me some grapes one of these days?" And I'm
Well,
like,
of
if I could
course,
ever
man.
had extra, I would.
Right.
So, exactly.
That's
That is cool.
Exactly. So,
That is really neat. I like wine, and I've come into really enjoying wine lately. For whatever reason, I turned 26, and all of a sudden it was like, man, did I become more sophisticated or what? But really, that's just not it. I mean,
Yeah,
I was just missing out my whole life on
He
how
likes
good
to
this
consider
tastes.
him the wine concierge.
The wine
or
connoisseur
Connoisseur,
lately.
yeah.
But
it can be fun. It's one of those things you can get into and learn and learn and learn. And I think as having the store here and having an opportunity as an outlet for wine, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be very intriguing because typical distribution, right? You're going to get what the distributor brings
Yeah.
you.
Right.
But that's the nice thing about the wine side of things. You can go out and explore that world yourself, and you can start driving through distribution the things that you want to share with others to come in the store, right?
Yeah,
Because now
absolutely.
you've developed a story with that,
Yeah.
and you can take that story and share with others instead of just having Barefoot or something out of
Yeah,
Australia.
yes.
I'm just thinking the ones that are typically
Right.
on the shelf
yes,
at all
exactly.
gas stations.
Yeah.
On
Exactly.
I didn't
this
know how
planet.
much actually went into making the wine. I mean, I knew it was like a long process,
Yes.
but after touring the wine facility, I was like, oh my gosh, there really is a ton that goes into
Yeah,
this.
and you've really
From growing the grapes to just everything after that.
Definitely. And you've really come to appreciate what's sitting on your shelf out there for the most part. Like for example, for Houston, I mean, that's just the one that we're selling currently. I mean, compare that to the Liberty Creek that's $6 a bottle, and you know, it's cheap wine. It's manufactured in bulk. It's
But the fun about that is having the Houston wine out here. You were
Yeah.
able to go to Houston. You were able to talk to Greg. You were able to talk to and it's a family just like you guys, right?
Yeah,
That are just
yeah.
really
100%.
have a business, starting
Yeah.
to build it and going from there, right?
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of it, is when somebody does pick that up and buy it, you can share the story and you can share your excitement with it as well, right?
Yeah.
And again, I think that's one of the things that brings people together when it comes to wine, right? It's
Yeah,
just a
I
great
agree.
place to start having a conversation
Yeah.
and go from there.
Look at
right?
us.
Exactly.
We're sitting around the
Yeah.
table drinking wine, talking about it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love it.
So.
I love it. That is super cool. Super cool. Let's kind of dive into. I heard a rumor that you and George were kind of looking at maybe bringing a winery here in town, or trying to renovate a building to have a winery here. Where's that stand?
That's the goal, right? Is the question is where?
Yeah.
You know, it's similar to you guys in, what are your expansion plans and that side of things. It's like, okay, where, right? I think more than likely what we'll end up doing was with a more production facility with a small tasting room and that side of things. It's not 100% locked in of, okay, here's where we're going in there.
Yeah.
This is going to be a bit of a journey
Yeah.
that we're going to carve out as we go, right? I think
Definitely.
there's opportunities here and there and everywhere. Whether we build a new facility, whether we retrofit a building, or that sort, it's just as we get a little closer and it becomes more clear, I think it'll
Make a little bit more
exactly.
money. Yeah.
Start sharing with everybody,
Yeah,
right? Well,
yeah.
the thing about it is, I always say, and everybody will laugh that knows me, I can only have 3 jobs, right? So, I like I said, I worked at Micron for 36 years. We grow the grapes. I also I chair the board of the Idaho Trails Association,
Okay.
which is a nonprofit. We do trail maintenance throughout the state of Idaho.
That's
we did
awesome.
almost 80 trips this last year with almost 800 volunteers,
That's
3 staff,
crazy.
and that side of things, right? So those are my 3 jobs.
Okay.
And
You're
I always
maxed out at the
and
moment, yeah.
exactly, and I always limit myself to that. So
Yeah.
Well, that's very good of you to recognize that.
yeah,
early on
exactly.
to,
There's only so much you can do. But
Yeah.
at some point here again, my daughter kind of graduates from school.
Yeah.
She kind of locks in what she wants to do.
so maybe she
It won't
can
be
kinda-
anywhere other than Adrian, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Because, again, it's one of those things. Part of the reason why we're doing it is to get back to the community, right? How can we bring something that brings jobs, that brings people, that
Yeah.
brings interest, right? And back to threes, right? When everybody asks me where I'm always from, I tell them from Adrian, and they're like, and I'm like, you know where that's from? And I'm like, you either have been lost, have prime
Yeah.
rib, or been fly fishing.
Yeah.
That's the only
One
3
of the
reasons
3.
you've been there,
Yeah.
right? But
That's funny.
I have to say, within my work at Micron, and I've traveled around the world many a times. You would be surprised how many people know where Adrian is.
Yeah.
Example: I was sitting in Singapore, in the in Chinese portion of Singapore, watching the Chinese New Year celebration, probably
Sure.
8-9 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there on a bench watching the world go by, watching everything, beautiful
Yeah.
presentation of everything. It's huge. Photos.
That's so cool.
A couple of younger individuals come sharing the bench with me, and there's a gal from Germany, and she's like, "Where are you from? You're obviously from the States. Where are you
Yeah.
from?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, most people don't know where I'm from,
Obviously.
so think California,
Yeah.
not there. Think kind of." And she goes, "I was an exchange student in Parma."
Oh my gosh.
Exactly.
way.
Exactly.
You're like, you will
And I'm
know
like,
where I'm
"What?"
from.
My
Yeah,
goodness.
I'm like, okay, you'll know where I'm from. And she's laughing, right? Of all things, right? That's probably as far away as I've ever been where I run into somebody that
way.
knows
That's-
Adrian Rose. But
That's pretty good.
I swear there's, less than 1 degree from everyone in the city of
That
Adrian.
is
So-
crazy. I've seen, we've had people come in from France. They usually come in once a year. They come in from France
Yeah.
just to come fly fishing out
Yeah.
here. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
they're from all over the map. We were at a convention center in Las Vegas. Yeah, we just happened to walk by a booth and got to talking to somebody. They're like, yeah, we're from Oklahoma. And we're like, oh, well, we're from here. And they're like Oahe? The Oahe River? Fly fishing? It's like, yeah. And they're like, we were just
Exactly.
there 2 weeks ago. And they're like,
And
no.
he was
you
showing
didn't
us all
stop.
his
way.
pictures.
Yeah.
He's like,
Right.
it's the best fly fishing down there.
And then we're like, well, did you had to drive by our store then? And he's like, I turned on this other road. We went over this hill, and I was like, dude, you needed to drive 2 more miles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you would have run right by
But
us.
next time, and
Yeah,
you will be
next
here
time.
again.
Now you
right?
know we're
Will be.
there.
Exactly.
It's just crazy how many
Yeah.
people know of this place.
Yeah, no,
and
it
its
is.
beauty.
It's a fairly small world, and a lot of times the world
It-
centers
yeah.
around Adrian, whether people know it or not.
It really
is.
does.
And that was music to my ears when you were saying bringing back stuff to the community for jobs, for infrastructure. I love it.
Absolutely. It's one of the things that, you kind of move away. You kind of go, okay, now wait a minute. That wasn't such a bad place after all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How can we
Yeah.
help that, right? And
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that are helping, right? I mean, Angie and Nikki, what they've done in the whole 2040 side of things, and
Love it.
when you look at what they've done there's been a huge amount of community involvement within this community over the
Huge.
last 20 years, right?
Which is so
and it's moved it
important.
forward a long ways. Now, is there a long ways to go? Absolutely. Nothing's
100%.
perfect. And it's going to take a lot of people to
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of pitch in and do it. It's not a single person effort. It's not 2 people effort. It's going to take a community effort to really
Yeah.
figure out, what do you want it to be? What do you want it to look like? And everybody's going to pitch in a little piece, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are great people in this community. So it's,
There really is. There really is. And something that we're trying to do to help bring that community back to life is we're looking to building a grocery store in Adrian in the next year or 2.
Yeah.
That's our 1 to 2 year goal here. We was at a 2040 meeting with Nikki, and she
Yeah.
brought us in, and that's one of their main goals is to bring a grocery store back to town
with
and-
gas, please.
Right?
We don't know about gas yet, but we can definitely make a grocery store work just so we don't take too much away from our location here.
Yeah.
Versus, a Jackson's or something coming in and building, and it would kind of ruin us a little bit, which would be unfortunate. But
I can tell you, I think the one thing about it is, I think if you can corner the whole market yourself, you'll be much better off.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
100%.
The Jacksons, the Stinkers, those guys, there's not enough volume for them.
There's not.
Actually, I had the conversation with a couple of them
Yeah.
that are
Yeah.
fairly,
Yeah.
and it's the volume's not there for them,
No.
right? So they're not interested.
not.
Yeah.
Which
And
is
it's great.
perfect, right?
I love it.
That lets you get into a place that, the market's mine.
Yeah.
Now, how do I manage that with the current infrastructure that you have to
Yeah.
be successful, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
And maybe it's just wild ideas. Maybe you set a container up there and you just have a few things here and there and
Yeah.
everywhere. But anyhow.
Yeah,
no.
clear span building, steel building. That's exactly what we're going to be. That's
Exactly.
exactly the kind of plans that we're looking at. So we were at a 2040 meeting, and that's where it brought up, and the whole city was absolutely 100% stoked about it. They were like, okay, this is what we need to do. Here's our sewer lines. Here's our water lines. Let's talk to the school board. Let's get this land either donated or some kind of tax program to you.
Absolutely.
Let's get this store built
Right.
because this community needs it. And I've talked to a lot of people that have come in here and said, the only reason we didn't move out this way is there's no grocery store.
Yeah.
There's nothing for us to do.
And that's I wouldn't say a little known fact, but I mean, it's a known fact, right? At one point in time, there were 2 grocery stores in that
Yeah.
town, right?
And
Both of
3
them had
gas
complete
stations
meat
and-
counters and everything and that side of things. I grew up in one of those, right? So, I've done my share of sorting cans
Yeah.
and sweeping
All that good
floors and
stuff,
stocking
yeah.
shelves myself, right? So,
Beautiful.
it's just a matter of people have to embrace it, right? And
Yeah.
people have to realize, when you're going to build a community, you've got to embrace the things that are happening there.
Yeah.
And, there may be things that are cheaper, there may be things that are easier, there may be things that are that, but you have to step back at the end of the day and go, what am I doing within my community to help, right? And part of it is supporting the small businesses there or
Yeah.
the small businesses that are going to come in, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it would be
absolutely.
awesome to have you guys. I kind of know where, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But my question is, what can I do to help, right?
Right.
You got a lot of money?
And it's, well, none of us have a lot, but
No.
between all of us, how do
I
you go
think we can
figure
make
this
it
out,
Maybe we could
right?
make it work.
We could probably
yeah.
make it work.
I'm telling you, I'm a problem solver.
Beautiful.
And
I love it.
it's
I
a
need
matter
problem
of
solvers on
let's
my
go
team.
let's go figure out where it's going to come
Yeah.
from, where it's going to go, right? And
Yeah.
just start knocking on doors and say,
Yeah.
hey, this is what we're thinking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one thing about it, is when you have these conversations, maybe not everybody's bringing a ton of money, but everybody's bringing resources
Hard
that they
work,
have,
resources,
right?
knowledge.
And how do you leverage those resources,
Yeah.
right? So it's that's part of being that community, right?
Yeah.
So
I love it, and that's really what we wanted to be about when we're here.
Absolutely.
I mean, the town of Adrian, the town of Nissa have been amazing in supporting what we do out here, and we've really noticed a big pickup. We've made a lot of changes here at the store recently, and started doing events and. amongst those events, we've heard a lot of feedback of people are like, wow, this is amazing. I wish more people would do stuff like this. I wish they would throw more parking lot parties. I wish
Yeah.
they would have more community gatherings. I wish they would have more of this. And it's like, well, all right, how do we make that happen?
Yeah.
And that's a logical kind of next step for this place. This place has been around for, in my family at least, for 40 years.
Right.
So how do we continue this legacy and help build a town that's going to help support us for the rest of the time? So
There is one person in my family that's a huge music fan and has a lot of music connections. So if you ever get to that point, reach out and say,
That's
wait
good
a
to
minute, I would
know.
like to have these people. Yeah, exactly. So-
Okay.
Yeah.
That is good to know.
Our
'Cause,
plan is to start next spring. I want to do one like the first of every month. Do like a parking lot party. Maybe
Yeah.
get some like
You know,
local food in here.
farmers markets,
yeah, farmers
car
market,
shows,
things
just
like that.
events to gather around
Yeah.
and
Things people like to. I mean, people like to enjoy each other's company and gather,
Right,
and there's
right.
not a lot
They
of
do.
things around here to be able to do that.
Yeah. I mean, they're doing a little bit of that in Adrian.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
the
with
girls
the
that have the
fun
coffee
run.
shop there and,
Yeah.
and the farmers market that they're doing, right? It's a
Which
great
is
thing.
huge, and I know
Yes.
people really like that.
Exactly. And
So,
yeah.
if we can
But there
really
could be more of that, right?
Exactly.
It's-
Yeah.
there's- they don't have the market cornered on it.
Yeah.
There can be way more of that
Yeah.
in this,
If
in
we
this
could-
community, and the
if we
community
could
would
ramp it
enjoy
up,
right? So,
it would be awesome.
right.
Yeah.
So I love that. So now what are we drinking, Tim?
So this is actually a Tempranillo, right? So
'Kay.
this is a 2018 Tempranillo.
Yes.
You'll find this significantly different. The Verdejo is very fruity, very smooth, very balanced. This will be more kind of raspberry tones, leathery type feeling on your tongue, right? So,
it's not
but
quite
still-
as stout as I was expecting it to be.
right. It's not a Cabernet, and that's kind of the beauty of it, right? It's not a real heavy Bordeaux style wine, right? This again is a
That
more
is actually delicious.
a little lighter.
We'll see. I don't like red.
It's very smooth.
And I like that you're trying it, right?
Yeah.
You can say, you know what, I don't like red wine, I don't like beer,
This
I
is
don't like
actually,
bourbon.
I think, and I'm not just saying this, one of the best reds I've had because usually they are very in your face. I feel like, and I don't like that.
Yeah, and this one's been open for a little bit as well, so it's aired
Aerated.
out and kind of aerated a little bit.
I could drink
but-
that,
Yeah?
Yeah.
The whole bottle. but no.
not the whole bottle, but I
Probably.
could drink a glass.
Yeah.
I've started drinking probably a bottle a week. So
That's where a problem starts is I can have a glass and then no.
like that. 1, 2.
But I think the thing about wine, and not to get into that, but a little bit of that conversation, right? Is explore, try it.
Yeah.
Don't be the one that says, you know what, I only drink Chardonnay.
Yeah.
Please don't be that person.
Yeah.
Because there's
a whole world
way
out there.
exactly. there's
Well,
a
that's
whole
why I
world
had to
out
try it because I know that I don't like red wine. But there's, like I said, different reds taste different than other reds.
different varieties,
Yeah.
different winemakers. I
Yeah.
think winemaker has a big piece of
The way they do things.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Fujishin, I've been to their winery and it is awesome. We did a whole wine tour there as
Where's
well.
their winery at?
Outside Marsing, right?
Yeah, Martin has a tasting room on Sunny Slope
Yes.
there,
Okay.
just down from the Orchard House.
That's
Okay.
not where they make
The
it,
white
but-
shed there.
Mhm, yeah,
and then
yeah.
majority of their wine, and again, there's multiple numbers of them that actually make it at the Koenig Winery.
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
That
and
is
Martin
awesome.
does a lot of different.
I mean, we've got so many wineries here, and that kind of speaks to what you were talking about, the 45th parallel. I mean, it just really seems like this area is bred for winemaking.
Yeah, that 45th parallel runs right through the
Yeah.
center of Europe, right? So it's
Yeah.
it's and this is an interesting spot because the elevation is really high, right? And when you look at Europe, there's only a few very high elevations. When we talk about high, most people think 10,000 feet,
Yeah.
but when you're talking about grapes, a couple thousand feet is fairly high.
About sea
Yeah.
level.
But that also brings different things, right? It brings different temperatures. It brings, it cools down faster in the evenings at that higher elevation.
Yeah.
It has a tendency
Crispier
to
air.
exactly, and it has a tendency to build less acidity in the wines and that side of things. Right?
That's why a lot of the
Yeah.
wines I've tasted from around here are a lot smoother. They're not very harsh.
Yeah. I actually enjoy drinking them.
That is awesome. Okay. I'm going to take a sip of wine here, folks.
So that's exciting about the store. Again, it's one of those that it's going to be a journey and
Yeah.
kind of carve it out
100%.
and definitely keep us surprised of
Yeah.
hey, if there's something we can do to help, right?
Yeah.
And,
Absolutely. We will absolutely reach out. We got a school board meeting here in December, and I'm having a 3D model actually made, rendered right now today. So we
Yeah.
have a visual of
Baby
what it
steps
Perfect.
make the
could
big
look like.
picture.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No. And that's cool because on that property that we're talking about has a warehouse building or an old onion shed, if you will. that my father, who started a distribution company,
Right.
could also take over, and we can actually kind of bring in some more industry to Adrian rather than just retail side.
Yeah.
We actually have industry.
Hey, you know
for
what?
people.
Give me a piece of it. We'll put a small winery in there as well.
Awesome.
How about that?
Yeah, for
we'll
real.
share.
Can do.
We'll all share.
I feel
Can
good
do.
about it.
That place is big enough that we can have enough for all. So
Exactly.
I like that idea. I'll be there every day. It'd be dangerous.
Yeah, I was gonna say it'd be you'll never
Go
see
to
it
work,
like
get
that.
off work, go
Exactly.
next door, go to the winery.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we're actually we're adding on a beer bar here at the store.
That'll
So-
be fun.
Yeah.
Yes, we got grant money from Biz Oregon.
Nice.
We are the first business on this side of the state in the last 20 years to actually receive this grant.
Which is
So,
huge.
It's huge. It was $75,000
They were really
grant.
excited to give it
Big
to this
grant.
part.
And hopefully that'll be here next week, and we can get started on knocking that project out. I mean, it's to go towards our brand new bathrooms that we finished, finish our outdoor seating, and work on a kitchen expansion as well as that beer bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's the beer bar vision, right? What's the thought? What's the vision where?
So the vision behind it is it's not going to be a full liquor bar. It's going to be beer, wine, and cider centered.
Yeah.
It's going to have at least 10 taps, if not more. And we're going to feature local beer, local wine, local cider, pretty much local everything
Right.
in that bar, and kind of add to our grill here already. So, and
Kind of like a bar and grill type deal.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
add more jobs to this place,
Absolutely.
add a little bit more revenue, and add a little bit more community events with it, because with that, I mean, then we can bring in live music, we
Right.
can do events every week, Thirsty Thursdays, if you will, or whatever.
Right.
So
Yeah, we're
Right.
gonna have outdoor seating
Mm-hmm.
like outside
Well,
the bar
and
too.
it's-
So
It would be really fun to explore the whole beer world
Yeah.
in the local side of things.
Yes.
I don't know what there is in Ontario on the beer side of
there's
things, but
one, but that's it.
you know,
Yeah.
you get across the river and
breweries are nuts.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
I've always
and,
wanted my
and
own
it's
brewery.
just as intriguing, if you ask me, as the
I
wine
agree.
side of things, right? So
I am big into sour beer. So
okay.
I have actually come to like rosé wine because it's kind of sour.
got that-
It's
yeah,
got that
it's
got- well,
grapefruit,
you know,
soury texture, if
Right,
you will.
and when you think about rosé, right? I mean, the rosé is made with red wine grapes,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what they do is actually press those grapes, and they only let them sit on the skins for a very short
Yeah,
period of time.
that's why it
maybe
gives that
45
color.
minutes. But they also pick it when the sugar's lower and the acidity's much higher, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the rosés are going to have a little less alcohol, but the acidity and that crispness and that freshness is going
nice-
to be right there.
I
right?
am
So-
not a
that
rosé
punch.
fan
Yeah?
at all.
Don't say you're not a rosé fan.
I
You just
know.
haven't tried the right one yet.
I know. I
So,
wasn't a fan of the
we can
one I
work on
tried.
that. We can work on that.
I'm
you
not
know?
a fan of sour beer though either. The beer
you
he
know.
drinks, I am.
Yeah,
Not my thing.
a lot of people, when they take a sip, they kind of pucker.
Yeah, yeah. There's some great local rosés, by the way. A lot of them do that. There's also very good rosés coming out of Washington.
Okay.
Bernard Griffith. If you pick up their rosé, Sangiovese, it's great.
Good to
You know.
know.
I will have
Great
to
rosé.
absolutely look into
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a very affordable bottle of wine, right? It's a Tuesday night bottle of wine that you
Awesome.
can drink anywhere. And he's won award after award after award at San Francisco.
Yeah.
with that,
That's cool.
With that, and he specifically grows the grapes specifically for that rosé, and it's everything about it. So
That is neat.
So I have a few questions. Back to you. Do you
Okay.
miss living in Adrian?
yeah, I'm waiting to get out here just
Okay.
as quickly as I can.
Okay.
But it's all timing, right?
Yeah.
You're waiting for that grocery store.
Exactly.
So the goal is to end up back here.
The goal is to end
Okay.
back out here, right? That's absolutely the goal. I would do it sooner than later.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, again, where's the right place. Right
Yeah.
now, I could actually work from home 2 days a week.
Okay.
So
Wouldn't be bad.
I would only have to drive into town 3 days a week.
But
So,
that 3 days becomes long.
we
might.
we say, okay, if timed correctly, right? And that's the thing about my schedule is very, very flexible in that. So I don't have to go in and be there at 8. I don't have to leave at
That's
5.
nice. You
I
don't have
can
to go
work
during
through.
rush hour.
So it takes an hour.
Yeah.
It's an hour there and an hour back. By the way, where I live today in Boise takes me 30 minutes there. And
Okay.
30 minutes
Wow.
back, right? So if I was to reduce that
That's
down
it.
to only 3 days
Yeah.
a week, it's
Only
6
had a half
hours
hour.
of driving versus the 5 hours that I'm
Yeah.
driving right now.
Well,
Right?
and then
So-
you'd get more backcountry, prettier views
Exactly.
than just
Yeah.
traffic.
Yeah,
Closer
you
to
can
your
actually
So-
breathe
grapes.
once you get.
Yeah, exactly.
And, but yeah, no, that's eventually the goal is, I'd love to be back out here.
yeah, of course.
It's just, it's all timing.
Yeah.
100%.
I get that.
How
that.
long does your daughter have left in school?
June 9th is when she graduates. And then
Wow.
again, she's not old enough to drink wine yet. Right?
Sure.
So she'll be,
Sure.
and she won't be by the time she graduates, right? So
Okay.
she's trying to figure out, and
She's just playing chemist at the moment.
exactly, exactly. And she's trying to figure out, okay, what do I want? What's my next steps, right?
Yeah.
Because it's all about refining your craft.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Takes
I
time.
also, we've had the conversation. I'm like, okay, a business degree wouldn't hurt. Just
No,
so
it
you
would
know.
not.
You're like,
Because
and you're
you-
not old enough to drink yet, so you have
Right.
time.
Exactly. You totally have time to do that. And so what her original plan was to get through Walla Walla, go to France. There's a program that just you slide right in out of the Walla Walla Community College into France.
That's amazing.
You can finish your bachelor's degree. You can get a master's degree in
Whoa.
viniculture and enology out of
And
France.
that's a cool opportunity.
And that was her original plan. As we all know, plans change. We're
Of
not
course.
sure what it looks like now.
Of course.
But again, I think it's an adventure for her, and
Yeah.
we'll kind of see where it goes. And
She's young.
exactly, I've said, you really don't need to come back to Adrian for a little while.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
It is always good to go away from home and explore.
Right. And the kids, and my kids, I have 3 kids. So my oldest son, Grady, who's 26, actually turns 26 on Christmas
Okay.
Eve. So very similar
Yep.
age.
Yeah.
And then my middle daughter, Bella, turned 23, February. So
Okay.
she's oh, maybe I should say, 23. She'll turn 24. and then so, right? So, and that's one of the things we've always done. We've said, hey, go explore the world. I've traveled. I've got 1 million miles on United and a seat in United, which is not something you want to do, but I do. And I've been around the world in every direction, right?
Yeah.
And
That's so cool.
That's something we've always instilled in them. Grady, he lived in Chile for a year.
That's awesome.
And love, everybody loves to travel. And,
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, he's in Spain.
That's
not
cool.
home for Thanksgiving. Bella, our middle daughter, actually is accepted in a master's program in the Netherlands in environmental science.
Wow.
And she spent a year through Rotary, living in the Netherlands, and so she's going back.
That is so
and
cool.
then
That's
Soph
neat.
spent time in Italy. She spent time in Chile. So they've all it's
Yeah.
comfortable for them to
Yeah.
travel around the world and that side
Yeah.
of things, right? So
I
I
something
feel
they've
like that's
always done.
important. I'm almost 26, and this is the farthest away I've ever been from home, and it's only an hour, and I'm like, oh my goodness.
We're working on changing that.
It's a big, comfortable place out there, right? Don't be
Yeah.
afraid of it. And that's what, it's, so that's one of the things we always push. Hey,
Yeah.
get out, explore the world. Meet
Yeah.
people from around the world.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised.
As I've gotten older, I definitely
Yeah.
see
I've
why that's important. and
I've
I
taken her to
agree.
5 different states already this year, and that's the most she's ever traveled.
There
So
you go.
Yeah, I have traveled more with him in 6 months than I have in 26 years. So,
By the way, airline tickets are not that expensive. Train tickets are cheap.
yeah.
yes,
So-
train tickets are cheap.
Exactly.
100%. So
Exactly.
I've been trying to get her to go to Mexico with me, but I still haven't quite convinced her of that one yet.
The 10-hour drive there and back is a little misleading
We
for
are
me.
driving. We're not flying. Yes, we're going to San
But it's an
Felipe.
adventure.
That's what he said.
That's
He's
what I
like,
said.
And
the
it's a
whole thing is an
journey.
adventure. And I'm like, how? I'm like, I just want to be there and then I want to be back.
Mm-hmm.
So we're growing to love the journey. I'm not
Yes.
there yet, but I'm sure with time.
There's counseling for that. It'll be okay. You'll
With enough convincing from his
exactly.
end.
You'll get through it.
That's amazing. That's funny. That is really neat, and that is very awesome that your kids had those kinds of experiences, because then they're able to, when they do come back home, they're able to kind of implement what they've seen from everywhere
Exactly.
else in community building.
Exactly, exactly. And they've all gone through a semester of leadership school,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been.
I feel like
phenomenal
they
for 'em,
probably
so-
appreciate life a little bit more too.
You do.
You know what I mean?
You really do.
Well, and you understand that the things that you see in the news may not be completely
Yeah.
true, right? When you get around the world, the people that are around the world are no different than you and I. They're
Yeah.
they're making a living. They're trying to figure it out and
Yeah.
going from there.
Just
right?
like Mexico, I mean, the stipulation around it is it's a very scary place,
Yeah.
drugs, people killing you left and right. But in all reality, when you get down there, the people are so nice. They're so helpful. And we left our truck full of stuff downtown in Ensenada. Not a single thing was stolen from it.
Yeah.
I mean, just people are
Yeah.
nice people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you obviously have your rotten apples who do make it on the news, but
Everywhere.
They're here
Everywhere.
too. Yeah,
They're
I was
everywhere.
like, yeah.
so yeah,
Yep.
I love it down there. It's
So
fun.
yeah, just to, I brought you a couple other treats
Yes.
there as well. A few stickers.
Stickers.
Patagonia.
We
I
love
love
stickers.
Patagonia.
Patagonia is awesome.
Actually.
Patagonia. Oh my goodness, I didn't even read those.
Patagonia.
That is
I knew.
funny.
I knew she went
Okay.
to school in Meridian
Okay.
somewhere, right? Just because.
Oh, that is funny.
So
Potato
Grady-
Gonia.
Grady, who's
Potato
26,
Gonia.
is actually the sticker designer as well. Right?
That is
So
awesome.
So what does he do?
He actually fights fire.
Okay. Oh,
And he
fire
fights fire
crew?
he's on a fire crew.
Yeah.
Been on a crew out of Island Park for the last few years.
Okay.
Going to move down to Pocatello, but through the Forest Service. Actually, when he goes to Pocatello, he's going to BLM. So
Oh, very cool.
Island Park is
Exactly.
awesome. I have family up there, and it is gorgeous.
yeah, no, he's loved it in Island Park. And it's been a great crew in Island Park and a great experience. But yeah, he designed this on his time off.
I would
so-
never. I probably would have put this
That
on
is
everything
so
and wouldn't
funny.
have even known.
That is so funny. Yeah, I just glanced and I was like, oh, Patagonia stickers. Okay. And
Yeah.
then
You're like, wait a minute.
hold on.
So there's the kind of the mountain version and then the desert.
Yeah.
Right. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
That's what they are. And this is
Patagonia.
it's actually the Sawtooth. So outline of the Sawtooth with
That's
Thompson
cool.
Peak and the Gowan. And that's I
Yeah.
thought I'd bring those just to.
That
again.
is
Yeah,
awesome.
I love them.
Nice plug.
You can
Good
order
job.
them off of Ida Gear if you want.
Ida Gear. Is that
Okay.
is that
If
his
you need-
website?
That's his
or is-
website.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, and
Awesome.
You
We'll go
want
check it out.
You know, I think I have browsed his site before. Now that you say that,
that's funny.
That is
yeah.
awesome.
Exactly.
Such a small world
I think
that we live
Mom's
in.
still doing the shipping for the site, but that's
Perfect. Hey,
That's
It
okay.
all
got
works.
It's a family affair when you own a
Exactly.
business. My mom and my dad are still heavy here in the store. So
There you go.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Oh, that is cool. Man, what's this last wine that we
Yeah.
got
So
here?
the last
Greg?
wine.
Tim.
So again, Indian Creek. I'll turn it your direction.
Yes.
You know, Cuna. I've been in Cuna since I think Bill started in Cuna in the early 80s.
Is it still
right?
there?
Yeah, it's still there. Still in Cuna.
Okay.
Both Mike and Tammy run it out of the facility that again Tammy's
Yeah.
dad started there in the in the 80s, right? So.
Okay.
So this is a Cabernet-based wine. So I think
Okay.
when I was looking at the back of it, it's called Star Garnet, but it's a blend wine. So Cabernet,
Okay.
Malbec,
Okay.
and Petit Verdot.
I don't know that I have had this type of blend yet.
So
This will be
Cabernet is
good.
kind of the backbone of it.
Okay.
Malbec's going to bring in some different structure that the Cabernet didn't have, and the Petit Verdot is going to bring in again a flavored structure, but a color structure. Petit Verdot's bringing
That one's
that
definitely
deep
darker than that
darkness,
one,
right?
yeah.
Exactly.
Definitely has a different
exactly.
smell than the
Oh.
Tempranillo.
Yeah, Cabernet does good here. It's just it's not Napa Valley Cabernet.
yeah.
So in that context, it does grow different. It's at a higher elevation.
It's honestly still very good.
It's at a it's at a
That smells more like a red.
Yeah, like I said, it's more pungent. Yes.
exactly, and it has a little more.
Oh, there's the face.
There it is.
There's
Yeah,
the face.
Exactly.
Yep.
I couldn't drink that every day. Ooh, yeah. See, that's a red
See,
wine.
but that's the fun of exploring it,
Yeah.
right? Is you like, okay, I've got 2 red wines here. I say I don't like red wine. I got 2 red wines, but I could really
I
drink
like
that first
one.
yeah, like that first
don't
one,
like
that was
the other
good. This one, I'm sure, is good to certain people.
Right,
So
right. And again, Mike does a great job.
it's just super strong, I guess you could say.
It has a
It has a
different-
bold taste.
Yes, exactly,
Yes.
exactly what you would expect. It's
Yeah.
a Bordeaux style blend,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's going to be really strong presence in that. So-
That is awesome.
Yeah, because it's way deeper.
And
than
all
that.
3 of them have a connection to Adrian, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
there
they
you
do.
go,
And
exactly.
yeah, so we better highlight that for the viewers or our audio cast here. All of these wines that Tim brought us have a connection to Adrian in some way, shape, or form. Either they grew up here, they went to school here, or they're just family friends of Tim. So, Tim, we need to kind of dive into the relations of each of these wines to Adrian and the local town here.
Yeah. So again, for these 2, the grapes, we grew both the grapes for these, the Verdejo and the Tempranillo.
Okay.
Awesome.
Martin Fugitian
Yep.
grew up in Ridgeville. His family, just traditional farming family. 3 generations farming
Okay.
actually between Adrian and Homedale. Martin went to school, K through 12 in Adrian. And then Mike McClure, his parents grew up out here and,
Yes.
and still live here. And Mike went to school out here for a little bit, but I don't think he graduated
Yeah.
from Adrian. But again, his parents,
That's awesome.
both
Well,
out
yeah.
here.
Yep. Their
So yeah, it's
names
kind of
bear
fun.
familiar.
That's kind of why I brought him.
Yeah.
And that's the part about wine. There has to be a story behind it, right?
Yeah.
And when there's a
Yes.
story behind it, there's a connection. When there's a connection, it's like, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah.
You know.
That's what I'm
like
starting to
that.
figure out about
Yeah.
wine. I might not love like the taste of it, but I do like the stories behind it.
Absolutely.
It's intriguing and it's very interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And explore it, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing about it. And not just within the Treasure Valley. Anywhere you go, you can
Yeah.
explore whatever the wine is. And there's going to be, large corporate entities that are into it. And then there's going to be those that are just starting
mom and
just-
pop shops.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Trying to start a small business themselves and get off the
Yeah.
ground. And
Now
get
when
going,
I hear
right? So-
people say they don't like red wine, I'm going to be like, well, there's a lot of red wine.
Exactly.
So I wouldn't say
Right.
that.
See? Yes,
Because
exactly.
I said that one day too.
Right, right.
That is funny. Yeah, and I said I didn't like wine one day, and now here I am, sipping on wine.
As we all say,
Yeah.
it's an acquired taste.
It-
It's similar
It
to beer. You
is.
just haven't drink enough, right?
Yeah, you haven't drank enough.
Well, that's the interesting
Haven't
side of
tried
things.
enough,
And
yeah.
I think you guys will run into it once you kind of the beer tap side of things, right? That whole world, whether you go
it's
sour beers,
expensive.
whether you go dark beers, whether you go
IPAs, you
lagers,
got-
IPAs,
Pilsners and
If you
stouts.
ever get a chance,
and
though, go to Prague.
Okay.
Prague. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. The beer's cheaper than water. And,
Wow.
Delicious.
And again, delicious.
That's
the beer
good
in
to know.
Germany's
We'll add it
nice
to the
and
bucket
good,
list.
but still, Prague is my
Prague.
funnest place to drink.
I have heard good things about
Yeah,
Prague.
it's a beautiful city, by the way.
That's awesome.
It's just
Our
one of
goal
those-
is to travel.
It's one of those
definitely.
magical cities in the world with the castle on the hill, and you just look
Mm.
in
Like in the
along
movies,
along
and
the
you're like,
river.
wow, I'm really
Exactly,
here.
Exactly. You're just like, wow, I'm here. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Go to Prague.
Okay, Prague. Prague it is for beer.
Yeah.
And the sides.
I'm gonna have to
And
get
the
an
sides.
education anyway before the beer tap bar opens up. So looks like we're going on a trip.
Yeah, and a great local trip would be tons of fun, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
100%.
the folks. I mean, all of the breweries over there, on the other side, on the Idaho side of the river, are very open. Whether
Awesome.
you go into Payette, whether you
Yeah.
go into Mother Earth, whether you go to
Payette.
Boise Brewing.
Yep. 10 barrel.
There's a
Exactly,
lot of them down there,
exactly,
too.
Exactly.
And then-
how does it work in your purchasing and the distribution side of things? Can you funnel through what you want?
I
Or
believe so. I haven't dove
That's-
too much into the distribution side of it
Yeah.
quite yet. I know that you can buy directly. Like a lot of my suppliers have relations with Payette. They have relations with 10 Barrel. They have relations with Deschutes. So I can get a lot of those types of beers
Sure.
just from my supplier, which kind of lame if you ask me. But what I really would like to know is if I can go into those smaller breweries and be like, hey,
Get it directly from
I
them.
need a keg. I've got this.
right. I don't.
Let's set it up.
Right, and a
Yeah.
lot of times your larger distributors, they're going to have, they may have a relationship with the 10 barrels, they may have a relationship with the larger breweries, but what they funnel through there are going to be the high volume beers that they have.
Yeah.
Maybe not
Correct.
that one-off keg that I wanted,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
and same on the wine side of things, right? So how do you get that one-off keg?
Yeah.
And definitely when you're exploring that and you're adding wines, whether it's wines, ciders, any one of those, right? Definitely go the keg side of things, right? Don't be pouring bottles. Don't be wasting
Yeah.
bottles. I mean,
No.
it's
Not at
there's
all.
there's a whole world around the
Yeah.
environmental side of things in that, but there's no reason to not just do keg stuff,
Correct.
Yeah.
especially if you got the taps
Yeah.
to do it right.
Yeah.
That is the whole goal behind it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always kind of enjoyed, sitting down, having beer in a glass because it tastes so much better than coming out of a bottle. And for one, you're going to support a smaller local brewery.
Right.
Two, you're going to have a beer that you can't buy on the shelf most of the time. And three, you get to hang out and drink it with your best friends.
Right.
So
Yeah.
Right.
that's kind of the goal surrounding it, is kind of provide a place for the community to come and hang out.
Yeah.
We're not going to be open super late. We open until 10 o'clock. Come in,
Exactly.
have your beer, go home, drive safe, and just go home with a nice belly of delicious beer that you can't find on the store.
Absolutely.
That's the idea of it. And I've always, my ideas, I've got millions and millions of dreams and visions, obviously. I've always wanted to start my own line of beer anyway. So it's just kind of, it's my entry into the beer world. So
Careful with that, right? Careful what you
Yes.
say, right? You might have to have a small number of barrel brewery out here before it's all said and done.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that, by the way.
that
Yeah.
is exactly what I want.
So how are you guys going to expand on the food side of things? What's the...
Well, in terms of what we're doing right now, we're going to add the beer bar. Ideally, we wanted to have some kind of destination stay here. We were looking into yurts. We were looking into all that type of stuff. And then how the food plays into that is we were going to do bed and breakfast.
Sure.
We were going to start expanding our food offerings just outside of burgers and sandwiches and stuff like that.
Right.
I mean, we do a pretty damn good job at doing the burgers and the sandwiches
absolutely.
and stuff. And so really to kind of expand on that, we don't want to take too much away from the local restaurants that surround us already.
Sure.
And, if there comes an opportunity to buy those restaurants, Mirage, come talk to me. I would really ideally, that's where I'd like to expand. I would like to expand into other restaurants and sandwich shops. And in the side of the grocery store that we're going to build is going to be a sandwich shop.
Perfect.
And I know there's other opportunities in Nissa to expand on that food side. I really like to build the brand that I've built here with the food. So
Yeah, and that was kind of one of my curiosities, right? Is the focus kind of end up, obviously, there's the quick things that people grab in the
Yeah.
store, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's, I
Yes.
want a Coke, I want chips, I want water, I want that. But that whole food side of things and kind of opening that up, the whole kind of
Yeah.
yeah, it's
beverage,
changed.
the beverage side of things.
It's
Yeah.
it's absolutely changed.
I think when
and
we add the beer bar too, we might explore a little
Expand the
different
food
food
offerings.
options.
Yeah.
But my whole play was I really wanted to change the idea of gas station food. You have this stipulation of I'm going to this gas station, I'm going to buy a terrible burrito,
Yeah.
and I'm going to be sick later.
Yeah.
What I wanted to change was, wow, this gas station has really, really good food. Let's go. Let's sit down. Let's support a small family business. Let's have a delicious burger, a delicious sandwich, and go home knowing like, hey, we supported something awesome. We had some good food. That's really kind of what I tried to do with what I'm doing here.
Yeah. And when you say that, the first thing that pops in my mind is Rudy's.
Yeah. Yes.
I've never
Yeah.
heard of Rudy's.
Yeah. I 100% agree.
It's a barbecue place that has a gas station.
Okay.
Is the best way to think about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, it's kind of convenient.
It's
you
all
know,
over
you get
Texas,
good
right.
food,
Yeah.
and then you can get what you need and then
Exactly.
leave. Yeah.
It's the one-stop shop, and it's kind of, I mean, as a mom and pop shop, you have to dive into multiple different categories to kind of make it.
Diversify.
Diversify,
Yeah.
diversify your
So-
portfolio, as the professional term would
Right.
say. But that's kind of what we kind of wanted to do from the start, was rather than just grabbing that although good and tastes great burrito out of the hot case, we wanted you to also have an
Other
option
options,
of
yeah.
Wagyu, buffalo. You wanted
Right.
the premium buns, all
A
that
nice,
kind of stuff.
good burger.
Yeah, for a reasonable price, and to kind of change that perception of, hey, man, it only takes 10 minutes to make all that. Right, let's eat that versus the burrito out of the hot case. So,
Exactly.
But-
well, that'll always be fun to see how that grows, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the food side of things, the margins are always tight. It's always a tough
cutthroat.
thing to be, but people still love nice
Yeah.
quality food.
it's
They do.
rewarding.
and it's something that they enjoy, you enjoy providing for them at the end of the day.
It's rewarding. We had a Ryan Eidelman on who actually bought the burger joint over in Parma
Oh, okay.
for a short while, sold it, still owns the land underneath it, I believe. But that's what he was saying is it was his first restaurant type business, and he's like, man, people really hate when you mess with their food.
Yeah.
But at
No.
the same time, he's like, the most rewarding thing was like them biting into it and be like, man, this is some of the best food that I've had in a long
Right,
time.
right.
And you get the smile, you
Right.
get
And
all
some-
the interaction. It's like,
And somebody looking
That's
back
what I
at you
live
and
for.
thanking you and go,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
that-
Exactly.
That's what I live for.
Right.
So
No, exactly.
yeah, it makes it all worth it. It makes the long days worth it when somebody's like, man, I can really see the thought and effort that was put into this.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's cool.
Well,
It is
fun.
cool. Absolutely awesome. Well,
Other questions?
yeah.
I
What do you
don't think so.
got?
Do you have any questions for us or anything?
Yeah.
No, I think you answered a lot of my questions.
Awesome.
Again, it's great to have insight into, okay, we are looking at some place.
Yeah.
Adrian
Uh-huh.
as a store.
Yeah.
Anything you need,
Yeah.
We appreciate
ping me.
it.
100%.
I may not be able to deliver, but
hey,
hey, you never know.
Or you might know
knows
somebody who can. Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
That's the
It's
part
all about
it.
who you know.
knows who. And invite me to that board meeting. More than
I
willing
will.
to kind of show up,
I-
support.
once I
That's
have
the
a
least
date-
thing I can do.
Once
right?
I have a
So-
date, I will
Yeah.
send that right over to you, and
Yeah.
we'll get
We
you coming in.
appreciate it.
So, cool.
Awesome.
Thank you to our viewers. Thank you for listening to episode 5 with Tim Martin here, the local wine expert, we're going to call him. So thank you, Tim, for being on.
Absolutely. You're more
Thanks
than
for the
welcome. Thank you
delicious
for the
wine.
invitation.
Yes, absolutely.
We appreciate it.
Keep it
Your
local,
company.
everybody. We're out. Cool.